Alright, welcome back. This is going to be a new video. Pretty excited, trying to get the wagon ready for paint, which means that I need to do some work on the doors. So a couple days ago, actually last week, I got started with doing the doors, and there was the idea that I was going to do this. I was going to take these metal caps that we had left over and weld them to the door. That would have required extensive welding, more cutting, and I really didn't want to do that. And the main reason was the work. The second main reason was that I don't like the look of when these are welded to the door. Other cars that do it, they get a bulbous effect that just looks a little odd. I wanted something a little bit more subtle. And so some other guys, they actually just flare the door. So instead of using this, good friend Loren off of Instagram, he is a metal massager, and he showed me a video of him how he flares the door. And on his though, when he flares the door first, and then he puts on the quarter panel. Well, I had already put the quarter panel on, so if I flare the door, that means that it's going to increase the gap between the quarter panel and the door by about 3 to 4 millimeters. So what I did was, we'll come over here, because I did it on this door, and let me go and close my garage door for now. So what I did was, let me turn this around. Come on. All right. And so what I did here was, before, this door was completely flat and straight, and you could see the thickness of the quarter panel. And what I did was I took a 2x4, opened up the door, and literally just along this edge here, well, before I did anything, I marked the 2 points on the quarter panel, top and bottom, my start and stop points, so I knew on here how much I wanted to flare out, where I wanted to start. So I did that. I opened this up, and it just was just massaging the edge of the door out. I did it on both sides. So you can see here, still got a nice curve to it. Go and close that. And as you can see now, it has closed this, it has flared it out, and it closed this gap. So actually, it doesn't look too bad. Once you get some glazing putty and you smooth this out with some body filler and just glaze it thin, prime it and paint it and sand it, it'll look so much better. But right now this is just a rough, getting it ready for the body guy. So as you can see here, it definitely increased the gap right here. Here's the stock gap right here. I have feeler gauges over there I can use, but you don't need them because you can see the gap right there. Not too terrible, but there's a gap there and it needs to be resolved. But the main thing I wanted to do was just to get this flare to meet this so that it was smooth all the way down. And it's actually nice because when you step back, it's very subtle, and I like that. Just looks like the door goes into the rear flare. So on the other side, I had to do the same thing, and I went ahead and started on the other side. And on this side, I wanted to try something a little bit different. So first I tried using body filler, and it worked. I liked it. I got the shape right to fill in the gap, but I just did not like the thought of using body filler because, I don't know, it's got a bad stigma with longevity, especially the thicker it gets increased. So I had it, and actually it was pretty difficult to sand off. But I went ahead and sanded it all back off, and this time I used, where is it? Panel Bond. So as you can see here, 38-315 Panel Bond, small 50 milliliter bottle. I got the applicator gun, got some tips. I got a whole box of tips over there. Oh, wife's home. So what I did was I actually created a template using this guy. So I used this right here, and I put it along here. And I taped it up, and I measured it, and I cut it to the contour of this, so it had the same size all the way through. And then basically I made a 4mm wall. And when I made that wall, I taped it up, I applied the panel bond, and as you can see here, here's the panel bond. I filled the panel bond all the way up to meet the actual door. Not with the door closed, of course, but the door was open. And I let it, I used, it was actually really easy. It didn't drip, it didn't run, or anything like that. It was really nice. It just stayed solid. And I let it cure. After 24 hours, I actually was able to use a putty knife and smooth it out. And then I just spent about 2 hours sanding and smoothing everything out and getting the gap right. And where are my feeler gauges? Here. So I got my feeler gauges right here, and I measured the feeler all the way through. I got the stock gap here, and I just went all the way through and made sure that I got my gap right. So I'd rather have the nice gap right here, and panel bond is very, very strong. It is structurally sound. It's not going anywhere, to quote Dads everywhere. Right now you can see the line where it meets the metal, but once this gets a slight putty glaze over it to smooth everything out, and primer and paint, it's going to look really good. So I'll come back another day. I ordered some more panel bond, and I'll actually show my steps that I'm doing when I do the other side, but I wanted to show the end result of this. And so far I'm pretty happy. I'll go ahead and open this up, and you can actually see the panel bond. And it is very flat, it is very smooth, and it is very strong, much stronger than body filler. And this is not a movable area, so I don't need to worry about flex or anything like that. This is a hard area. I'm not worried about cracking or anything like that. I use panel bond on the carbon fiber roof for my red car, so that works out just fine. Hi.
Hi.
Where's my children?
He's in the car.
Oh. Oh, okay. All right. Well, I will be back. I got to go save the little one from the car, and I'll be back in the next one. Hey, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to do a little bit of body work. Nothing serious, nothing crazy, but just another process in getting this wagon finished. I've already done the other side, but I want to go ahead and do this side and show it on camera so we can kind of go through the process of how I'm attempting this. But what I'm trying to do is fill the gap from flaring my doors. And so we'll take a look here. All right, so we have the wagon here. I've backed it in so that I can work on this side. So I've already gone ahead and just kind of painted everything to protect it with Orient Blue spray paint. Just kind of make sure it doesn't rust over. But this is the area we're going to be working on today. This is a lot thicker now. Now that we've welded on these quarter panels, it's come out a lot more. And so in previous videos you've seen that this was actually filled in with a sheet metal filler piece. So there was a hole here, like a moon-shaped hole from here to here, and we filled it in with the piece and welded it and grinded it down so it's all solid. And when you close the door, go ahead and do that now. When you closed the door, you could see it because the door was flat. So what I've gone ahead and done is I've already flared out this door edge with a 2x4 and just massaged out this lip all the way down so that it would meet the edge of this. So now the door meets instead of seeing this jutting out. But the problem comes now is, you know, this is all going to get smoothed out with some body work. No problem there. But the problem comes here is now we have this gap. And you can see here the standard gap right here. The standard gap is right here. This is untouched gap. But as you get closer here, right to the flare, where I start pulling out the door, it gets a lot bigger. And you can stick my finger through there, whereas you can't do it up here. It goes all the way down to here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go and make sure that the edges are all like they're supposed to. Down here looks pretty good. So I'm just kind of looking over everything, and we need to fill in this gap. And there's a couple different ways you could do it. But the way I'm going to do it, like I did the other side, is with using panel bond. Because this area is a very small area that doesn't flex or move. It doesn't need the flexibility of a lightweight body filler. So using panel bond here is going to be great because it's going to help me fill in this gap. It's going to be really strong, and I don't need to worry about cracking or flexing because this area is not like a large area sheet metal like over here. So we're going to go ahead and get started. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start sanding away this whole work area. All this I'm going to sand down to bare metal. And I'll sand this edge to bare metal just so I can see the area that I'm working with. And once it's sanded down, I'm going to scuff this area up with about 40 grit or 80 grit sandpaper so we have a nice rough surface for the panel bond to grip to. And then we'll apply a card taped in place here that can hold that the panel bond and make a wall so that the panel bond can come up. And once that cures overnight, 24 hours, then I'll come back and I'll sand it down into the proper gap that I want using feeler gauges. So let's go and get started. I'm going to get my sanding supplies and we'll be right back. Alright, so hopefully you can get a little view. I might be blocking some of this, but this is the view I'm going to give you while I'm working on this area. So I'm using just a cheap Harbor Freight orbital sander with a foam pad. I think they're called interface pads or interference pads. I don't know. I always hear people call them different things. Just a foam pad that's a little bit flexible. That's all. Alright, then I also went to O'Reilly's and got a bunch of accessories. I could order them on Amazon, but I decided to just go to O'Reilly's. It was right nearby. So I got this cool little small area sander. Came with a bunch of sanding pads. This was a 60 grit, and this is the right width to get into this little area right here. different pad. This is a large surface area. This is the back. This is a 100 grit. We're a little flexible with these crevices right here. All right, that should be good. And then want to take, so even though I have probably a 80 grit sandpaper on my handheld belt sander, it still goes so fast that it's smooth, it still kind of smooths it out. So we really need to put some grit in there. So I have a sanding block. This is 40 grit on here. And this sanding block is, I got a box on Amazon that has an assortment of blocks, and came out super helpful. Well, basically we just want to go slow and put some scratches in here. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to get a little duster, get this out of here. All right, clean it with some alcohol. We want that panel bond to stick very nicely. No excuses. So this is what I used on the other side. I cut it on the other side. It kind of has a curve because it follows the door. And because this is the other side, I'll just flip it. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look and see where does the bulge start. Because right here, everything's nice and even. But then right here is where the bulge starts, but the gap is still okay. The gap doesn't start till right around here. But just in case I'm wrong, I'll make sure that I panel bond a little bit beyond the gap on the top and the bottom, and then smooth that transition out as when we get to the sanding part. Okay, so what I do is I take this and I put it and I actually cover up the seam right to the edge of this door, so that I can still open and close it and get a little interference fit. I got the baby crying. I'll wrap this up and then go take care of the baby. Then I'll take a little piece of tape and put something down here at the bottom to kind of catch any, if it does kind of run or drip, then I have like a little piece of tape down here as a wall to catch it. Up here we don't need to worry about that. All right. So we have our wall set up. It doesn't have to be absolutely perfect because we'll be doing a lot of sanding. We will be doing a lot of sanding. It just needs to get material in there. So let's go and take a look. Here you can see there's the template right there. And all it's done is it's created a little wall barrier so that I can build up. the panel bond. See, there's a lip right here. So we're going to go and get the panel bond ready, squirt it in there, get it smoothed out, and then let it cure. Alright, so over here we are at the workbench. Hopefully we will get some time before the baby starts crying again. I have my panel bond gun. Sorry, right here. I have a little bit in here left, so I'm just going to go ahead and use it. But I'll have this one ready to go when I have to take over. This one comes with its own tips too. I'll save that one. Save that tip. I used this tip last time. I had good success with it. Go ahead and slide this in. Get that in there. Alright, so as you can see, see if we can see how it's mixing in the tube. Okay, do a little squeeze out. Alright, so we have about a 90-minute work time with this, give or take a little bit with the heat or cool. It's a little bit cooler today, so we probably have more work time. If it was a hot day, you'd definitely have 90 minutes. So let me bring this over here. Alright, we're bringing the panel bond. I'm going to squeeze out all I can. It's going to look like a hot mess. Then I will get my squeegee and do my thing. So now we'll take this and just kind of smooth it out. Get this extra squeeze out here. All right, I think that's it. Okay, so we have our cardboard wall template set up. We have our panel bond filled and smoothed. So hopefully that'll do it. So we will come back tomorrow, pull this off, and we will start getting to work on sanding. All right, we'll be back tomorrow. All right, it's a new day, and we're checking in on the panel bond we did last night. Okay. So I fully expect when I pull this off, it's going to peel off cardboard like it did on the other side. So there's going to be a layer of pop cardboard and a thick chunk hanging off the side. All right, there we go. Virtually identical to how it worked on the other side. Let's take a look. So as you can see, we have there's some slight drip down here, which is fine. I'm going to have to sand this whole area anyways. But as we sand this area down and contour it to the gap, which will be multiple checks, then this area will get sanded down as well to be smooth with this and kind of match the contour of the door. So let's go ahead and see, with this door closed, how thick that is. It should fill up the whole gap. All right, so as you can see, I pretty much filled up the whole gap. Here, slight gap here, but definitely needs to be bigger. So the whole thing needs to be contoured and sanded. Down here, I'm going to need to get a 2x4 and push this in to meet this sheet metal right here. It's a little bit coming out a little bit, so I'm going to tap that in. This comes out here, this comes out here. Yeah, from around here to here, this whole corner needs to go in a little bit. So I'll work on that, and then I'll work on sanding this area down. So let's go and get started on that. All right, so done a lot more sanding, using my feeler gauge, trying to figure out how my gap is. Now my gap is where I want it to be with the feeler gauges. So I'm going over here, and I can go all the way up through here, come all the way up, come down, come all the way through. I'm right here in the middle, but then I hit a stop right here, a spot. And I know that I need to sand a little bit more from here all the way down to here. Right about there. So I'm going to mark that spot. Okay. See if I can get it anywhere in here. Okay, so this goes up here, stops right there. Okay. So I now know this spot right here is what I need to sand to get my feeler gauge to go all the way through. And I found I had really good results by just taking this little tiny piece of wood instead of using these. This was good, but it's a EVA foam block, so it has flex to it. This wood is a lot harder and firmer and lets me get a lot more tooth and dig into this area right here. So I'm going to go ahead and start sanding from here to there. So here we can see panel bond worked out really well as a filler. It got me the gap that I needed. And when it goes to paint, a light glaze, putty glaze over this, and then primer and sand. You'll never even see it. Go ahead and close the door. Now we have a good gap. So I'm pretty happy with that. All right, one thing we're going to do is let's show off our final work before we do our closing marks. Driver's side door area. We got the gap like we wanted. Flared door jamb, looking pretty good. Get a little bit closer. Then we'll come over to the other side. Hi, red car. Covered in pollen. Look at that. All right, then we got this guy over here. All right, so that's a wrap on that. So, to end this video, I'm going to clean up my work area and check both sides, make sure everything's still good between the two. Maybe do a light 320 grit sandpaper to get a little bit smoother. And then I'll start another video with you guys, because we're going to go through the process of breaking the car down to get it ready for paint. Taking all the stuff off of it so that when my guy goes to paint and do any kind of body work he needs, he won't be limited by something in the way. Headlights, taillights, corner lights, trim pieces, grills, badges. This is not a glass out repaint because I'm going with a color that's very similar to Orient Blue, which is already really dark. So at most I'll be doing the door jambs, but I don't need to worry about like a complete glass out or anything like that. I'll be removing the bee stinger antenna. I'll make sure to put the sunroof down and out so that he can actually cover the sunroof area. The drip rails or the roof rails, the covers, I'll be taking those off. All of the trim pieces on the doors and the chrome trim and all that stuff is going to come off anyways. Door handles, all that. So this car should be very bare. And then I'll probably just leave the headlights and taillights bolted in with 1 or 2 bolts so that I can drive it there legally. Also, front and rear bumper is going to come off because there's going to be a lot of work. The mirror's got to come off, so I'll leave them. I'll take the door cards out and leave the mirrors bolted on with like 1 bolt. And then when I get there, it makes it super easy for me to get the mirrors off. And then, actually, you know what? I'll just take off the mirrors and disassemble them because they need to be disassembled anyways. So the mirrors will be disassembled for him to do some work on it. There's going to be a lot of fine detailed touch-up work for my paint guy. So he's got his work cut out. A lot of putty glaze on the mirror bases to get them ready for paint. So really excited. We're getting really close to getting this thing painted. Thanks for sticking with me on this journey. I know it's been long and boring, just showing all this stuff, but it's also been fun for me getting to build this car in my garage. So it feels pretty good. Anyways, wrap this up. We'll see you in the next one.